So, first of all, let me introduce myself. So, my name's Sarah. I am a online fitness coach with at Fit for Fun PT, working with ladies who are mostly a similar age to me, so perhaps like 35 plus, perhaps feeling the effects of like perimenopause, and just really wanting to get fit again, but not really knowing where to start in terms of training and nutrition. So I've teamed up with Sandra to bring you this live today to kind of debunk some of the myths around that and hopefully provide some clarity. So I'm going to hand over to Sandra now, if you can introduce yourself.
Yes, sure. So my name is Sandra Cohen. I'm a nutritional therapist. I call myself a health detective. Why? Because I combine functional medicine and energy medicine to go to the root cause of diseases or any type of symptoms. So I work mainly with women that are going through perimenopause, menopause, that feel tired, overwhelmed with their life, don't know where they are at, and I support them to radiate in all areas of their life, basically finding what is the root cause and like implementing diet and lifestyle modification to be able to reach the goal that we have together.
Mm-hmm. And so, Sandra, so some of the main questions I get from clients are basically, they're just really confused about what constitutes good nutrition, basically. So what basically, like, how important is it? What does like macronutrients be? Like, how much of everything should we be eating? Is there anything we shouldn't eat? So yeah, I suppose if you could just give us a global view, if you like. Is there anything we should be eating, shouldn't be eating? How important is it, basically?
Yeah, I think diet and lifestyle during perimenopause, I mean, during all our life is very important, but I think especially at that period of our life, because I think like previously we could as women like manage to get through life even though we didn't have a good diet, we didn't exercise, we didn't sleep enough. But when we reached that period of life, I think like it hit us hard, and then we are not able to deal the same way we were dealing before. So if I want to track back, I would say I think it's very important to think in terms of, before talking about macros, to talk about like to bringing back awareness about like what's real food and what's processed food.
Yeah,
You know, because I think
absolutely.
yeah, because I think like today in UK, a lot of people rely on processed food, on takeaways and etc. etc. Where I think we forgot what all food is and how nutritious and important it is for our body, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's about like, first of all, before talking about macro, shifting from like probably removing processed food from our
Mm-hmm.
diet and slowly reintegrating like fresh or food that is nutritious, if it makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I think as well, some people don't even really maybe quite understand what is processed food. Like, does like canned, if anything's in a can, does that still count? Even if it's just like tinned plum tomatoes, does it still count as processed? Like, what are the really bad? Like, what does it mean? Like ultra processed food, basically.
Yeah, so basically, whatever is changed has been processed from the form that the nature gave it to us, is
Mm-hmm.
processed. So
Yeah,
let's say we think like, for example, we think like cereals are very healthy. They are not, because they are ultra processed. It's an example. All the
yeah,
food that we eat is ultra processed. People who think, for example, that corn is healthy, it's not, because it's ultra processed food. It's
mm-hmm.
just example, but like a can of like beans is healthy.
Yeah.
Does it make
In their
sense?
Yeah, like in their natural state, you mean? So like tinned red kidney beans, tinned like cannellini beans, like in their natural state, like tinned tomatoes, that's
Yeah.
okay. Just the stuff that maybe had loads of things added to it, like sauces and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think as far as you see more than 5 ingredients on a packaging, and if you don't understand what are the ingredients, it's processed. Let's make it very simple. You
Yeah,
know? So
yeah,
so
I think
so,
that's really
so
good.
yeah, I think it's the easiest way to start. You know,
Yeah.
if you read the
If you see a
label,
big long, sorry, go on.
no, please, please.
Yeah, so if you basically see a big long ingredients list full of stuff, then yeah, the kind of it's a high probability that it's sort of ultra processed basically and not really that great. So we want to be looking for stuff, even if it's tinned or canned, it's more or less it's really in its natural state still.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely.
And
Yeah.
what about like macros? What does that mean, macros? We hear about that a lot, like make sure your balance of macros is right. What does that mean? And is it different in midlife?
Yes. So I think what's important to remember, macronutrients are like the big groups. So the protein, the carbs, the vegetables, the fats. So we want to have all those ingredients in our plates. And just to give an idea, like a basic idea about like how you balance your plate is to have like basically like 1/4 of your plate in protein, 1/4 in carbs, but carbs that are complex carbs, you know. So for example, sweet potato, whole grain rice, etc., and half of your plate in vegetables, non-starchy vegetables,
Uh-huh.
and good source of healthy fat, so olive oil, avocado, seeds, nuts, etc.
Yeah.
So those are the basics of like a good balanced diet, because the more you concentrate on all foods, the more you're going to have a nutrient dense type of diet. And this is what we are looking for, to have like all the vitamin and minerals that are necessary as well to that period of life.
Yeah. And I mean, I think in the past, we've very much, especially as women, been made to feel like carbs are the enemy, basically. And like, obviously there are so many diets out there now that kind of, it's like, have a like low carb or no carb diet, and that's the answer to losing like body fat, basically. So is there anything we shouldn't be including?
So I would say avoid removing carbs from your diet, because this is where the mistakes starts. Like it's a mistake. Why?
Yeah.
For a couple of reasons. One, carbs are essential for hormones production. They are
Yeah.
essential to stabilize your blood sugar. So especially if you don't sleep or if you have insomnia, it's probably because you didn't have carbs during the dinner. It doesn't have to be much. 1/4 of your plate is not a lot, but this is what stabilizes your blood sugar. So it could be that you wake up because you are in an hypoglycemic state. So basically your blood sugar drops so much that you wake up.
Yeah. And we definitely don't want that at this time of life, do we? When we could be waking up anyway and experiencing like poor sleep.
Exactly. But it's a vicious circle, because what worked when we were in our 20s, where we were able not to eat carbs and lose weight quickly, won't work here, because like it's an extra source of stress to your body. So you then release even more stress hormone, which is
Yeah.
the cortisol. So then you destabilize the production of hormones that are already starting getting disrupted.
Yeah. And so we hear a lot about, specifically out of the macronutrients. So we've touched on that little bit. As we're going into midlife, there's a lot of noise around, you must be hitting your protein goals. And that is something I focus on with clients as well. So make sure you get adequate protein. I don't focus too much on a fixed amount, but lots of people do ask me and do want to know. So, what is this all about, like protein? How much do I need to be eating? And do I need to be literally like calculating down to the gram for my specific body weight how much I eat? Like, what's the magic number? So is there a magic number, or is it just about balance again?
I think it's important to work by stages. If you are at the stage where you have too much processed food in your diet, don't start by counting your protein. It doesn't make sense, because you're over focusing on one thing. Now, the general rule would be to have like 25 to 30 grams of protein per meal, roughly. Now
Yeah.
it's a maintenance kind of like amount. But if you want to work on like on making sure you don't go to a stage where you have osteopenia or osteoporosis, so then you have to have basically between 1.6 to 2 grams per kilo of your weight per day.
Yeah.
So it's another type of calculation. So it depends, like, what is your target in terms of protein, and if you want to build muscle, etc. It can become technical, but as a rule, I think 25 to 30 grams is a good like start, I would
Yeah.
say.
Each meal. That's generally what I tell people to start off with. Like, don't get too bogged down with the like nitty gritty of it. Generally, just
Exactly.
aim for like a size portion, which is generally, like you said, somewhere between 25 to 30 grams, like at every meal. And just, you know, figure out what works for you. And then when you're further along in your fitness journey, like you said, you can kind of tweak it and get a bit more detail depending on what your exact goals are. But to begin with, it's just about just sort of having a balance, really, isn't it?
Definitely. It's better to have a balanced plate than just focusing on having protein by itself.
Yeah. And so one of the things, as I understood it, that protein does help with as we kind of age is sort of helping to maintain sort of energy levels as well and helping to combat fatigue. So why do we get so fatigued in mid, like what it seems to be one of the number one symptoms that people start experiencing, like fatigue, low energy, like what's causing that, and what are some things that we can actually do about that?
Yeah.
In terms of
Yeah.
nutrition.
Yeah. So there is not a straight answer to why we are fatigued, because fatigue could be multifactorial. So just to give you a couple of examples, you can be nutrient deficient, you can have a thyroid dysfunction, you can have like a toxicity load in your body, you can have a viral load, just to name a few things. So it's about understanding for each person why this person is tired and fatigued. And of course, the hormonal disruption can the lower testosterone, the estrogen, and the progesterone that are up and down until they get really low and low over time, or participate uh, to that fatigue. But every individual is different, and it
Mhm.
won't be for everyone just for the same reason, if it makes sense. So it's good to investigate. If someone is fatigued or tired for a long period of time and cannot shift that fatigue, it's better like to try to get to the bottom of it, I would
Yeah.
say.
So are there any kind of general things that we can do though to help, like in terms of our diet, to kind of just combat fatigue?
Yeah, I think like what we talked about at the beginning, like really watching, having a clean type of diet, all food full of nutrients is very important.
Yeah.
Protecting our sleep as well is very important.
Yeah.
Exercising, and especially like trying to shift from a cardio perspective to more like to strength training, but this is your area of expertise, so maybe you can give
Yeah.
your feedback on that. But really like being able to build muscle, because we tend to lose muscle and we don't want to lose them, for even for the metabolism perspective. We
Yeah,
want,
absolutely.
yeah.
So that's what I try and do with people as well. So yeah, just like you said, focusing really on, as at least a very first step to feeling better, just really just balancing, looking at having a nice balanced diet, not worrying too much about exact calories or macros or any of that, but really, like you said, coming back to eating well, eating everything within the right balance of proteins, carbs, healthy fats, making sure you've got like at least estimating like the good proportions on your plate, and then yeah, just sort of adding in the strength training is really really key as well. And I think, even just like, there's more and more research actually that shows that even just kind of getting up and having a walk, like you said as well, I think you touched on, it's not just about cardio. We used to just be able to eat what we wanted, maybe eat no carbs, do loads of cardio and lose weight, but that is not going to work now, because it's going to throw you like completely out of whack basically. So
Exactly. Yeah, you were talking about walking, and I think like it's very important, because a lot of people work from home, are behind their screen all day long. I think it's very important to get out in the morning, to have that light. I mean, not when it's not winter in UK,
yeah,
of course, but like to have that light and to be able to regulate that circadian rhythm that we have, and to send a
yeah,
signal to our brain that it's the morning, and we wake up. And I think it's very important as well for people who sit down for a very long time during the day, to move every hour.
Absolutely. And I think it's been shown now as well, hasn't it, that like even like having a very short walk after a meal, like even just a 10 to 15-minute walk after a meal. So if you work from home or even if you work in an office in a really high powered job, I think it's tempting to just sit there at your desk, shovel, like you said, a lot of people exist on prep and stuff that's maybe quite like processed. But I think people think of pret a manger. I know you mentioned that to me before. People think, at least I know I used to think, oh, it's quite healthy, it's got salad, it's got this, but it's still got quite a lot of processed stuff in it. You shovel it down while sitting at your desk. Like take your employer, even if you've got a super high powered job, your employer at least owes you like 10-15 minutes to get up after that and go for a walk. And I think it's been shown, hasn't it, that actually can help with a whole host of things like mood, digestion, and even the way you kind of like metabolize your food. From like that's sort of my understanding.
Yes, yes, definitely. You are 100% right. I think research shows that, like, if we go on a walk or we do like even a quick like weight exercise, like, even like doing a couple of squats, doing some weights for a couple of minutes, we help the muscles to take that sugar load instead of like having that like peak of like sugar, that blood sugar spike, and this insulin release that, like, I'm not going to get into too much details now, but like you're 100% right in terms of like what to do and moving
Yeah.
during the day, even like go to make yourself a coffee in the kitchen and then, you know, do a 2 squats when the coffee machine is preparing your coffee. And I think it helps because sitting down, it's an independent risk factor of cancer no matter what you do. Even though you exercise a couple of times per week, you are very good with your food. If you sit down all day long, you are more at risk to, unfortunately, have a cancer.
Yeah, I think it's just like getting over that. As a lot of the people like the women I work with, they do like a lot of them work full time. So they're working full time, juggling family life as well, like partner, kids, pets, maybe as well, maybe like elderly parents. I think it's about a lot of it as well is about losing like take on board that doing these really small things, just taking the time to like make yourself proper food and like taking the time, like time out that you need to do that. Or even if you have a really high powered job where you're either in an office or sat at a desk all day, you are entitled and allowed, and you must not feel guilty for taking just even 10 minutes to go and have a walk around the block, or
Yeah,
like you said, walk around the office
definitely.
and do a few squats. Like, to, you know, it can make a difference. I think people are like, oh, that couldn't make a difference, but it, you know, we know now that it absolutely can. And just making these really small sustainable changes to your daily routine in terms of your nutrition, hand in hand with like your just your daily movement outside of any actual training and workouts you might do, is
Yeah.
so important. And you will just build on it, and you'll just stack those bad habits, those good habits, and it will just get better and like better and better. And you'll start the more you start feeling the benefits, the more you'll start making time and prioritizing it and feeling less guilty about it, I think.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and I think like even like I see in clinical practice, I give a lot of tips to women who are very busy, how to handle that, like that shift to processed food to whole food. And it's not that complicated. It's just a matter of changing a few habits, but it's doable. It's definitely
yeah,
doable.
I think as well, like one thing I try and encourage clients to do, and I don't know if you do the same, is not try and do all of it all at once. Like maybe focus on one small thing, like
Yeah,
one, like
definitely.
at a
So we're
time.
breaking it down and trying and to put or focus on things we know that are like what we call smart goals. So we can achieve. It's easy. We start there,
Yeah,
and then we see the successes, and then we move on to something else. It's
yeah,
not about like, you know, doing everything in one go, because it will never work.
yeah. I think as well, it's really useful to, one thing I get people to do is like have a look at, because you don't want to cook something separate to your whole family. So you like have a look at all your like family favorite meals. And if some of them do contain, are like do contain stuff that's really processed, like, or like a really good swap, I think, like for example, for us, we eat a lot of like pasta because my partner's Italian, which is one of the, is a bit more processed, isn't it? White pasta is not quite as good. And we eat a lot of rice. And we tend to a lot in the past just have like white pasta and white rice. So I would just say to someone, you know, if you have a lot of stuff with like white rice, just look at one swap that you can make. So we now use pearl barley quite a lot. My partner
Yeah,
likes it, and it's just a slightly chewier
yeah.
alternative. Just one thing, like, or maybe find one meal, like swap one of your meals a
I
week and
think,
just focus on
yeah.
that.
Yeah, I think the secret is variety, to bring back abundance in your diet and variety, and not just like going through the same type of meals all the time.
Yeah. And so we've talked about just like general diet, but there is a lot of noise as well out there about like we kind of like, and the more I think we talked about this a little bit between us, like the more you look at stuff that like adverts, the more you get bombarded with it, and we've become absolutely convinced that we need collagen, we need magnesium, we need turmeric, we need ashwagandha or whatever it's
I
called,
forgot that.
we need to be like having bone broth every day, like Gwyneth Paltrow, like what, like how much truth is there in that? Like can we just
Yeah.
are there any like cure-alls, like should we all be necking collagen every morning, or what's the score with all the various like supplements and minerals and stuff? What's your take on that?
My take on that is that nutrition is the foundation. Is really the foundation. The whole and processed food matter most.
Yeah,
Supplements are here they can support you for a period of time, but they will never replace a healthy diet.
yeah,
And on the note of the supplements, I mean, like there's a lot of noise, but there are a lot of crappy products as well on the market.
yeah,
I'm going to do a series soon on my account on supplements, because people think like, oh, I was recommended to take that, and Mr. Google told me that, and I saw on Instagram that I should take this, and then my friend is taking this, so I'm going to take it as well. And then I see in my clinical practice client coming up with a bunch of supplements that are not accurate for their condition, that are very low quality, and they don't do the job, because like in terms of mechanisms, it's more harmful than anything,
yeah,
I would say. So it has to be used wisely, because it could have a ripple effect, especially if you are on you're on medication, you have specific conditions, or you are not aware of what you may have, but you might harm yourself. So I
yeah.
would be very cautious about using supplements, because it's a
Exactly.
very good industry, but
And
yeah.
I mean, I've been tempted myself. I admit, like, I hold my hands up. Like, I tried. I think it was like I won't name the brand, but I tried a collagen gel, and I was just like, one, it's really expensive. Two, I'm not sure if it did anything. I only tried it for a short while, so maybe that wasn't a fair trial. But I think like
But let me
they
tell
just tap
you
in. They
something
tap
on
in.
the note of the collagen, because collagen, for example, if you are an anxious person and you have collagen, you might be even more anxious,
Yeah, that.
because it triggers like the production of neurotransmitters that makes you anxious. So there are a lot of mechanisms. I mean, supplements, vitamin, minerals impacts different pathways in the body, chemical pathways. So it's really like important to use them wisely.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, I think as well, like you could waste, like you said, you've got people coming to you sometimes and they're taking a whole host of stuff that's bad quality that doesn't really match their individual condition that they may have. And they've probably wasted so much money for it on it. Like if you're thinking about doing it, like you said, better to maybe spend that month, take that money first that you might spend on it and get a proper diagnosis before you just
Of course.
experiment and dabble with loads of different things. And I think we're probably all a bit guilty of just wanting a quick fix for things. We're shown that, oh, this is like the miracle cure for this, and we just go, yes, like I want that. But it just reminds me of a really funny analogy I thought, or a post I saw once, and it was like if you had like if your pet was overweight, like if your pet dog was overweight or your pet cat, what would you do? You'd basically feed it less or better food. You'd change its diet and you'd exercise it more. You'd take it out for walks more. You'd let it, and it basically eat less and eat less or better and move more. But somehow, as people, we do everything else first before, like you said, we really bring it back to the absolute basics of having a really good diet and just like moving our
Yeah.
body.
Because I think like in the unconscious, the collective unconscious, I think like we are wired to go to quick fixes, thinking that is the best solution. But unfortunately, it's not. And sometimes it's the cheapest like intervention that have the most
Yeah.
benefit. So yeah, it's about thinking differently maybe
Yeah.
sometimes.
Okay, so we've been going almost half an hour now. I think we could just go on and on and on, but hopefully we will do another one. I think we talked about diving a bit more in some future sessions into like gut health and that, but that's just there's so much more to talk about. But I think one thing we did say we were going to touch on, which is another big topic, at the moment, which has been sort of, you know, there's been chat about for ages, is basically like fasting in any kind of like intermittent fasting, you know, 16, 8 or whatever all the different ones are. Yes or no? What's your kind of take on fasting for people in midlife like us?
Yeah. Yeah, so fasting in general, like it's has been like practiced for like centuries and centuries, right?
Yeah.
But it really depends on the individual. It can be helpful for metabolic flexibility, for insulin sensitivity, so in a certain context. Now, there is potential downsides to fasting. First of all, it can increase stress hormone. It
Hmm.
disrupts all the sexual hormones as well and other hormones. So I think like we have to be very cautious because some people as well as genetic mutation where they can't fast and it's even a bigger toll on the body. So then it has like a boomerang effect and then it's more harmful for you or you don't tolerate it. So I think the
Hmm.
best approach to start with is to start with intermittent fasting, a gentle fasting, like having an early dinner and then maybe you like moving your breakfast time a little bit later, having a minimum of 12 hours, like, you know, rest, letting your digestive system to rest and your body to rest as well,
Hmm.
and to be able like to excrete all the toxin basically, versus like implementing extreme fasting protocols,
Yeah.
which is not recommended if not under supervision. And you have a lot of conditions as well where it's not recommended at all. If you are diabetic, if you have thyroid dysfunction, autoimmunity, and all the things, then it's not recommended. So it's about listening to your body, and if fasting causes you fatigue, cravings, mood swing, then reconsider, you know, and
Yeah.
adapt, I think.
Yeah. Exactly, because it's just it could be doing more harm than good. So you said, sorry, just to kind of go back, so a good way to start and kind of see how you respond to it could just be to just almost, so you just fast for 12 hours, but that's overnight. So you just kind of
Exactly.
have,
Yes,
yeah, so it's
correct.
really most of that 12 hours you're asleep. So you are just having, yeah, an earlier dinner or a later breakfast in effect.
Yeah. And if it's too much for you, then do 10 hours. You know,
Yeah.
but stop. And maybe it doesn't work for you, and it's okay.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just laughing at one of the comments that said, I think I'd get too hangry. Yeah, I think me too as well. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I'm not nice when I'm hangry.
Yeah.
Okay, well we've been going for half an hour
Yeah.
now, so I think maybe we'll like wrap it up today. Does anyone want to drop any questions in the comments quickly before we log off? Because we have got a few people on with us. So if you've got any questions, type those in now. So I'll just give you like a few minutes. I think someone had asked about collagen. We've touched on that a little
Yes.
bit. Let's just give it a minute, see if any other questions come up. Can't see any at the moment. Thanks to everyone who joined us. Anyway, I hope you guys found that helpful. Give us a thumbs up in the chat if you're happy to sign off now and you found that informative. And keep an eye out as well, because hopefully we will be like diving into some other like hot topics as well in the near future. Okay,
Yeah, it is a kind of introduction, right, of like general topics that would be more than happy like to dig into specific ones.
yeah, absolutely. So yeah, info. I can just see info on. Oh, informative. I'm just guessing that means informative. Great. Thanks, guys. Thumbs up from
Thank you.
Lucy
Thank
and
you.
Marion. Thank you so much, guys. All right, then we will call it a day there. Wrap it up. It's being recorded, so we will be able to. You will be able to watch this again if you wanted to kind of just go back through anything. If you've got any questions, any follow-up questions, shoot me or Sandra a message on Instagram, and we will be happy to get back to you.
Definitely.
Have a good evening, everyone.
Bye. Bye. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.